You can say whatever you want about players, good or bad, before they're drafted into the NHL, but all those opinions can change once they touch NHL ice and bring their game to the pro surface. And all of a sudden, that 6th round pick that no one thought would even break the roster becomes a key piece to that team, and in some cases, one of the best to ever play the game. It's tough to actually predict players that might end up becoming steals, but today I'm going to go through a handful of players that will most likely go outside the early first rounds there, but might still develop into full-time NHLers. And just, I'm leaving out a couple players, that are on the brink of first round, people like Tomasino, Vlasic, players of that caliber. They're probably not going to be in this video. The first player I'd like to cover today is Robert Mastrosimone of the Chicago Steel in the USHL. Mastrosimone is ranked 53rd by NHL Central Scouting for North American skaters, which in the draft might end up being around like 80, 90, around in those. He is projected to go. There is McKean's Hockey has him at 27th. TSN's Bob McKenzie has him at 62. He's kind of all around the place, But the thing with Mastrosimone is that he's a pure sniper, real good goal scorer. He had 31 goals this year in 54 games and 60 points for the Chicago Steel. He had an impressive playoffs with 15 points in 11 games. And he is entitled to play with Boston University next year with Trevor Zagras. And he's most likely, he did start the year as a center, but I think he played better as a winger near the end of the year, which really, lets him use his shot a lot more. But he's got a lethal shot. It is close to NHL ready. The only thing that's really setting him back more so is his skating and his size. He plays a game bigger than himself. He is 5'10", 170. He likes to go down low. He likes to play kind of a game where if he had better skating, he would be a top 20 pick probably. He's a really good player. He's just missing a few key elements that you could easily gain over a couple of off seasons. But anyways, that's my take on Robert Mastrosimone. Up next here, we have one of our overagers in Nick Abruzzese. Nick Abruzzese is 20 years old. He's only 5'9" and only weighs 163 pounds. But he played on the Chicago Steel with Robert Mastrosimone again. He had 80 points in 62 games. Even as an overager, that's pretty good. He led the entire USHL in points, 51 assists, go along with 29 goals and 14 points in 11 playoff games. And he's committed to Harvard next year, who he's going to be playing alongside Canucks prospect Jack Rathbone, so that makes me a little bit excited. Either way though, Abruzzese is one of those players, he's real late bloomer. He's very small for his age, 20 years old, 5'9". I'm not picking on you short guys out there. But anyways, last year in the USHL for the Chicago Steel as well, he had 36 points in 56 games. So, kind of it's good, but not enough to raise eyebrows. But either way, he's definitely improved his draft stock this year with the 80 points he got. He's still ranked, somewhat low, 122nd by NHL Central Scouting, so he might be one of those guys you see like a 6th or 7th round risk taken pick. He is pretty, he kind of adapted his play style this year though, being a bit more mature, doing a lot of plays that that you might not try in a normal game. He's pretty creative from what I've heard. His coach, the Chicago Steel coach, said he kind of reminds him of someone like Johnny Gaudreau. He pretty much has the exact same stature. He's a pretty good playmaker, pretty good shot, pretty good skater, but obviously his size is going to be the factor. We're going to keep the streak going with the American players now with defenseman Jackson Lacombe, who played for the Shattuck St. Marie's prep team this year. He had an astounding season with them, 89 points in 54 games, including 67 assists and 22 goals. We don't get the most stats like plus minus or any, I don't think there's any playoffs there, but it's funny, he's also a product of Chicago Steel. He actually played 3 games with them at the end of the year. But this guy, from what I've seen, in a pure offensive-minded D-man. It's funny though, because he actually switched from a forward to a defenseman when he started. That's probably why he's got this this whole offensive mind, unlike any other defenseman probably in this league. I think he led the entire league in defenseman for points, 100%. I think he was 4th in the league in scoring as well. I couldn't actually find any video of him on the internet anywhere other than an interview with the Combine. But from what is said from people, a great mobile skater who can move the puck in all 3 zones. I don't know how much they say about his defensive game. Since he was playing against, not the tip-top quality of other players that are really draft class, a lot of people are wondering if he will be able to carry on this this output to a higher competition of play. But either than that though, he should be someone who you might be able to sneak in through maybe the 3rd or 4th round, and depending on how he pans out in college with Minnesota, he might end up being a great pick for you guys. Moving on to our first Finnish player of the video, and it's Anthony Honka. Anthony Honka has been playing in the league for the past 2 seasons now. He started with JYP. He played again with JYP this year before being loaned out to Jokerit and being loaned out to some team in the Métis as well. He has had a up and down. Like, his first year in the Liga there was actually quite impressive, putting up 9 points in 20 games as a plus 11 as a 17-year-old. But then the next year he put up 4 and 16 on the weaker JYP team with a -7. He found himself being moved around a lot. He put up decent points in the Métis for Kepa HT was actually the team. Had a really good playoffs over there. But no, he's destined to play with JYP again next year. And it's really going to be tough to see where he goes in this year's draft. At the beginning of the year, or even maybe last season, a lot of people may have had Anthony Honka really high up in the top 15. But ever since this season and a bit more inspection on his game, his defensive game really needs some work. I really don't find his rush defense to be too enticing. He's really weak. He gets caught watching the puck a lot and he stops moving his feet. But other than that, his skating and his offensive capabilities are there, and it could definitely translate to the NHL game. If he steps up his physical game and his defensive game, he could definitely be in the NHL and really be a presence. Next up, we have Dominic Fensori of the NDDP national team. This kid can skate. He's kind of like, he makes someone like Quinn Hughes look big though, and this is what his big problem is though. He is small, 5'7", 154 pounds as a defenseman. Real good offensive defenseman. He's arguably up there with skating with like Jack Hughes and Alex Newhook. He is a bullet. He's probably the best defensive skater. But you know, his size is what's going to bring his stock down, and is what's probably going to make him go in between the 3rd and the 5th round. There has been rumors of him flying up a little bit, but I really see 3rd to 5th round just because it is such a gamble to take this kid. He's a great player in all aspects of his game. You know, obviously, if he had size, his defensive game would be better. Everything would be a bit better if he could take that speed and be big. Like, oh, he could be something special. But anyways, he's going to fall down because of his size, but he's still a great gamble to take, and he might pan out into an NHL player one day. He plays next season for Boston University in the NCAA with Trevor Zegras and Robert Mastrosimone. Maybe he can prove himself over there, but we'll have to wait and find out. The final potential steal I have in this draft is going to be Nolan Foote of the Kelowna Rockets. Now, this is a bit of a, you could call it a steal, but I just say it's more of a risk almost in this case. Nolan Foote had 36 goals, I'm pretty sure, this year for the Kelowna Rockets. You know, after a mediocre season last year, you know, he's battled a bunch of injuries and a bunch of sicknesses. He had mono. He played this entire year with a broken wrist without even knowing it. Who knows what kind of damage that could have done to him, you know? I mean, he says he had fun playing injured, but now he's ready to actually show everyone what he's about. And he has got a wicked shot for one. Like, that is doing all that this season with a broken wrist. Those clips you'll see are from this season. Doing that with a broken wrist is quite impressive. Although it is going to be tough to see how he will translate to an NHL game. I really thought he was going to take over Kelowna this year. They didn't even make the playoffs, but my hometown Kamloops Blazers, they beat him in the little tiebreaker there at the end of the regular season. But anyways, I thought Nolan Foote would carry them a lot more, and I think a lot more people expected it too. So anyways, he's expected to go around late 1st round, maybe in the 2nd round, but I think he's a bit of a gamble to take. But if he pans out, he could be an incredible NHL star. Anyways, those are my guys that I think could be potential steals. They could just be potential risks, but I don't know. A steal is a steal. Leave down below who you'd like to see drafted in the later rounds and who you think could be a steal. I did have a couple more, but I had a couple of, like, you know, second thoughts on them, and I'm like, nah, maybe not. I'm not going to go in depth on them. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.